Hi again guys, and welcome to the 50th place pick in my personal top 50 favourite vehicles in the world for 2018 at least, and this is a car which I denied about keeping on the list or about taking off of it, the Corvette C4 ZR-1. And the main reason why I debated whether or not to have it on is because although I do love the car, I had to decide whether or not I wanted to have this specific model or whether I would allow it to be what I did ultimately allow it to be, and that is a representative vehicle for my love of the range, because the Corvette as an entire model run is one of my favourites. I'm not a massive Chevy fan, I'm not a massive GM fan, and even before the C4 generation, I'm not a huge fan of Corvettes. There are some which I do like. The C3s tend to be the ones that I liked before that, but mostly the C4 onward is where my real love and passion lies for the Corvette, with the C4 being actually my favourite of them all. Now, I don't love the C4 most of all in general, it's specifically this model, because the C6 is actually my favourite generation as a whole. This one, though, is an amazing car. The Corvette C4 ZR-1. This car is the embodiment of the best parts of the 80s in terms of the way it tried to be technologically advanced and very computerized and clever and forward-thinking, but also in what you can look back on as a very quintessentially 80s way. It's very boxy, it's got pop-up headlights, it's a very 80s car. Although, funnily enough, it wasn't actually made in the 80s, it was made 1990 to 1995, so it actually spanned past the year that I was born, which again gives it a special place for me. And the engine in this car was actually not developed by Chevy themselves, but rather by Lotus. It was initially planned to have over 400 horsepower, it actually ended up with 375 from the 5.7 litre V8. The car itself is very technologically advanced, there's plenty of clever tech going on, and it's a fast car. Now, when you think of high-performance versions of the 4th generation Corvette, your mind would probably go, if you're familiar with Corvettes, to the Callaway Sledgehammer, which is, of course, the pinnacle of the C4 in terms of performance, 255 miles per hour. But if you're talking pure factory-ready Chevys, not modified or one-off versions, this one really is a remarkable car. In fact, it was so good that even by today's standards, this is a seriously fast car. This car can hit 180 miles per hour, which nowadays that's sports car territory, super sports car territory, but from a 375 horsepower engine, and in a car which actually isn't all that lightweight, it's reasonable, but it's not super light, that's very impressive to be that fast. It has a 6-speed gearbox, which is better than some Ferraris of the time. It's a very good all-round machine, and also it managed to take the Corvette as a brand within its own right, in effect within Chevy, to the next level. Because it could be argued, and there are people who would argue this, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with it, but it could be argued that everything from before the C4 generation could be considered to be a sports car and a muscle car, especially the C2 and the C3. They have some definite similarities to muscle cars in the Chevy range. However, the first generation Corvette, the C1, is much more so a pure sports car. Then with the C4 generation onward, it again regained that pure focus on being a sports car. You cannot honestly say that anything after the C4 is even remotely close to being a muscle car. It's a pure exotic sports car after that, and this was that turning point, more so than any other car in the C4 range. It's a remarkable technical achievement from the brand. It showed that American cars aren't just big, dumb grunt. And even by today's standards, it still holds true to that. This is a remarkable performance car. That's the entire reason, really, why it's my favourite Corvette of all. Plus, I just like the way it looks. I think it's, again, the embodiment of all the best stuff about the 80s, but in a really, I would say, classy way. It's aged very well. But that's it overall for my 50th place pick. Of course, we'll discuss number 49 tomorrow and so on. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.